we are welcoming Mikaela to Thread Raiders.
Hello, everyone.
And I didn't actually come up with anything to talk about with you guys.
That's fine. So, Michaela, why don't you go ahead and tell us who you are and what you do?
Where are you from?
Where am I from? I'm originally from Central Maryland. I live in Los Angeles now. I work for Beadle and Grimms and have done contract work throughout the industry in the 90s and now. I owned a hobby store in the 90s as well, and I started getting back into RPGs about 2 years ago after taking a break. And I've done websites for World of Darkness as well as playing and DMing since the early 80s.
Nice.
So another big nerd.
I'm a big nerd.
Yep, yep. Fit in well
Yep.
with us.
Yeah.
Um, and oh, Lucha already with the questions. How did BNG start?
that was.
How did Beadle and Grimm start? I'm not
Yes.
Mhm.
one of the original founders. So there's 5 original founders, Matthew Lillard being one. Um, Bill, Charlie, Paul, and John are the other four. And they were all friends from 20 years ago. So they are having their midlife crises as well. And Matt decided that he wanted to start a gaming business. And they are part of an original gaming group that used to play. John was their DM.
Oh, that's awesome. Did
Nice.
not know
And,
about that.
and as far as the actual starting the company, I think it started 3 years ago. And they had the idea, they pitched it to Wizards to create effectively box sets in the same way that the old fans of music would buy the box sets of the CDs, and they wanted to turn the modules into that. So they had their elevator pitch and um, were successful. They made the company, and then a year later they were doing the Waterdeep box. And so now we've done um, Waterdeep, Saltmarsh, Avernus, both in a platinum and a silver, the Eberron for gold, and we just announced that we were doing a platinum Icewind Dale.
Excited for Icewind Dale. Do you got anything coming up? Like, do you do any streaming or anything like that?
I actually just got something while we were waiting for this, where I was told something that I can't release yet. But
Okay.
yes, there are going to be things coming up. The
Okay.
plans, in addition to some other announcements and things, which we'll do like we did for D&D Live this year, um, we're also looking at doing 2 to 4 session mini streams. So nothing long form, but a little bit more than a one shot. And I'll be putting those sorts of groups together, and I'll probably be producing them. And we're probably going to do maybe the drunken mailbag every quarter.
Okay. So another question from chat, uh, and this is one that one of our friends, Maddie, loves telling or asking. How did you find your passion? So when did you start gaming, and what made you fall in love with gaming?
I was I'm not young, so I am more or
You're in the
less.
you're in the same group.
I'll be 47 this year, and I'm basically one of the kids from Stranger Things. That was the time period, and I was that age. So I actually had started playing D&D in '81. I was only 8, and we played terribly. Um, our first DM, my first DM was my neighbor, and his older brothers had played it, and so we kind of inherited it. And it was so bad. I tell this story quite a bit, but um, Mark didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to go through the rigmarole of mapping. And for anyone who played the old days, being able to take what the DM said, turn it into a graph paper map, and hope that you were saying it right and not screwing it up was a big deal. And he did not want to do that. So he would just give us the maps off the back of the modules, which often had the secret doors marked, the traps marked, and we would basically say, We're going to go from room J to room K. We're going to avoid the spot on the floor. And then once we're in the room, we're going to look at the east wall and we're going to search for a secret, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
That feels
that
like
was kind of,
cheating.
that was more or less how we started. Um, and I played through middle school and then in high school and college. So I'd always, it just became something that allowed me to be uh, not me for a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah. I just saw my Facebook memory came up, and I have officially been playing RPGs for 4 years now. But like, I love it so much. It feels like I've been doing it for longer.
I'm in the same
Yeah.
boat you're in. It's like 30 years for me. Been playing D&D since the mid 80s. And yeah, I just love it. Everything about it.
I switched over to World of Darkness. So the picture behind me is from my hobby store that I had in the late 90s. And I'd done some consulting for TSR and had been actually Raceland pre transition um, for them for Gen Con 96. And I still have the staff of Magius and had the hourglass eyes and everything. And
Oh,
that was
nice.
for the launch of Dragonlance Fifth Age. And then we had the store, and then it was the Wizards buyout of TSR, and the whole industry kind of bottomed out. So I switched over to World of Darkness, and then third edition came out, and I never played third or fourth. So I did World of Darkness for a while, and probably did that until 2006, and then stopped gaming almost completely. So I had a nice big break, and then it was back in 2018 that the folks that I owned the store with wanted to do a virtual game online. Now we're all scattered. This was all back. We were all based in Maryland, but now we're East Coast and West Coast. And it was getting the cameras and getting the fifth edition books and preparing for what would have been probably a short form game, uh, which actually never happened. But it was the prep for that that brought me back into fifth edition, and then I found everything else going on from Matt Colville and Critical Role to Beadle and Grimms, and I've just been gobbling it up.
Yeah. Another question from chat. What is your favorite episode you wrote for your players as a DM?
Oh, it's so many years of play, so I'm gonna probably resort to my most recent group, who um, had run them into Fairy, the Feywild, and when they escaped, they got out and came across they were in the home realm of a custom sub sub race of elves that I have, who are uh, cosmically touched. We'll kind of say like that, and they have the blessings of a goddess of night,
Hmm.
but they are also xenophobic because of what they believe is they know secrets the rest of the world doesn't know, that she's actually there. And as part of the trials that were associated with that, the they have a fountain. It looks like a fountain in their central plaza, but it's actually a teleportation ring up 100 miles into space. So they'll tether people and then shove them into space for 30 seconds. And if you survive, and I've got the exposure rules and there's some minor magics and things. I want it to be lethal, but I want my players to be able to survive. So they have they're told certain things to do to potentially live, and of course it's all rolls, but um, they get shoved out there into space.
Hmm.
And while the things are starting to happen that are not pleasant, they do get a chance to see the world in its entirety for the first time. And it's sort of the same things that the astronauts will say from the space station about the kind of awareness that you get when you see the world in its entirety. And I, even with the horror of what's going on, I conveyed to them that kind of stuff. And I I think my players really liked it, and they were talking about it quite a bit um, afterwards. So I think that's probably my favorite most recently. But I also
I'm
like messing
excited
with them
about
as a
that.
whole.
Yeah, that sounds fun. What about you, Poon?
Oh, geez. I honestly don't DM very much, but I do enjoy taking like cartoon animated movies, like so something a setting that I know everybody knows, and then throwing the people my players into it. Like I've done a Toy Story one where everybody kind of woke up and they were toy sized, like they were figurines of their character, and they had to like defeat Sid and Scud, and I've done one where Peter Pan came and was like, "Hey, I need your help," and so they went to Neverland, and they had to like, they went to all the little places, and I I I'm very much of the I want everybody to have fun and like just kind of do whatever their character wants to do, because it's usually a one shot and it's like things don't really matter as much. But I want to make sure that people have enough fun that they'll like want to play again.
You got lots of questions in here. Have you ever played a character whose backstory you related to? Poon, you start off. I know.
I I um I have played at least two, we'll say three characters who became kind of the it became like the mother of the group, but definitely didn't set out trying to do that, and didn't think of themselves as the mother of the group. Um, yeah. So that's probably pretty close to my life. I love my kids. I did not want to be a mom. So, but I love it. Be having to figure out how to be the person who's like, oh my god, nobody else is in charge. Ah, maybe don't do that.
Cool. Cool. Mikaela, do you got someone?
In particular, I don't have any in particular, but I think we put a little bit of ourselves in almost any characters that we make. If we didn't, we wouldn't find them interesting enough to play.
Yeah.
So you're either playing something that's completely against type in many ways, but there's some nugget that you're relating to.
Yeah, mine would have to be like I played a character. It was my third edition character, and since third edition, I've had him in every edition. So it would be Belegmoradin. He was my half elven ranger. So I think that's who I identified most with. And I just loved him. And actually, I played that with my now wife, and our characters were love interests. So
Ooh.
it was great.
What does it say about me that all of the characters I create, I don't min max them. I just min them.
Yeah, you love making flawed characters.
I do.
It's
The
amazing.
Look, we're gonna be good at one thing, and we're gonna be bad at everything else.
For
It's gonna
science.
be fine.
Yeah, there's an aspect of that no matter how high that the scores are, the scores only matter when you're actually doing the roll.
Yeah.
So you can play it any way you want, and then it just so happens that when you need to be lucky for something and you're making that roll, then that's where your bonus comes from. It can just be another form of uh, how you perceive luck. So you can have an 18 and pretend like you've got a 9.
I like to have I'll play like a high charisma character, but not, it's not like somebody that everybody loves or like somebody who can persuade you to do something. It's like somebody really gregarious and like just has a huge personality. Like it, you can play it any kind of way you want to. I love that.
Prince Humperdinck.
Prince Humperdinck, yeah. Yeah. Or Martha, the
Martha.
like 11 charisma paladin. It's fine.
It was fine.
There was another question. Besides 5e, is there another game system that you really enjoy running games in or playing in? And I
I'm
will
gonna take.
also say, also not, what was it, World of Darkness?
I
Well,
am going to take this one
go ahead.
because Call of Cthulhu. I love me some Call of Cthulhu. We're running a Call of Cthulhu game streamed over on Maddie's channel. Um, I guess he changed it to So Chatty now, or Chatty Fam. Can't remember.
It's Maddie.
Yeah, it's Maddie's. I absolutely love Call of Cthulhu. I love the ability to use the dice to tell an investigative story. It's really fun.
Hmm.
Next,
For
yeah.
me, some of the so like I said, I've only been back for 2 years, and that's been all 5e. But prior to that, in the early days, I ran riffs a lot. But from a mechanics standpoint and a bunch of other things, that's a little problematic. I don't think I would want to go back to it. For World of Darkness, my preference was Mage. That was what I enjoyed the most. And then I've also run other games like Nobilis was one I liked, and that was a very short form game. Actually, saw the book. Uh, that was a game where you basically play, we can say demigods, although that's not quite right. They're more like incarnations, and it's a diceless system.
Like avatars of gods or something like that.
Uh, More like incarnations. You start human, and then you are bestowed power
Oh, okay.
of an aspect, and then it's grouped based on light, dark, heaven, hell, the wild, and you can have. Um, there's a lot of difference between what they call the prosaic world, which would be the normal world, and the mythic world, and you get different powers and different capabilities between them, and you're kind of fighting a war against the equivalent of the outsiders, the things from the far realms.
Mm.
They're called excrucians in that game. So
How does a
that was a fun
diceless
one.
game work?
A lot of times they're going to be either, if it's contested, it's going to be based on a number score, but you don't necessarily need to have it. And then once it's in play, you're being descriptive. So if
More about role playing than.
it is all role playing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Amber's another one that was a good diceless mechanic.
All right. The big question. The big
The
question.
Is it
question
the
we
one
all
I
fight
think I'm
about.
seeing? The
It's
pineapple one?
Mm-hmm.
pineapple on pizza. Yes or no?
No. Pineapple doesn't
Yes.
deserve to be on pizza, but put it on pastor, tacos al pastor, and it's perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Another one for my team.
Well, I can kick you both off this call. I'm hosting. Because you're both wrong.
So we all know that CA loves her mimics. What's your favorite different monsters from any setting?
I don't tend to stick with one.
Okay.
I have found that one, I don't stay very reliant on, say, the monster manual, because you pick something, especially with experienced gamers, they're going to know something that you may not want them to know. So I like playing or pulling from other sources, whether it's from mythology or even other games. Um, I've done things. I did a Valdoraven. That was in my first 5e campaign. It was the big bad for the first, and that's not a D&D thing, but it's in myth.
So I'm very similar with that. Like I love my mimics too, CA, but like almost all my creatures, if I do pull from the monster manual, it isn't straight from the monster manual. I'm modifying that creature in some way, making things more. So those people that read and DM a lot, who are now my players, they're not gonna. They don't know what's coming. But yeah, I pull from other sources a lot too.
I
You
don't
gonna be
like
worried about
mimics.
them cheating? Like, if you were to put a mimic in front of me and I knew something, I'm still gonna do my best to not play that I have that knowledge. But sometimes part of the fun is not knowing anything about that, and as the player and me as a DM for the players, I want their sense of discovery. I want it all to be as natural and organic as possible.
Yeah, love some homebrew creatures.
I I do not like mimics because CA killed me with one, and she will never live it down. I just wanted to make sure everybody heard that. She killed Martha.
With a mimic. Was that the Bob Ross mimic?
Yes. And
Okay.
also his painting. It was not an accident. You paid for it, CA. You knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
What is mage? I believe that was one of the games that you
What is
listed.
mage?
Yes.
It is. So if you're familiar with Vampire the Masquerade,
Okay.
there were four other main books that they did back in the old World of Darkness: Werewolf, Mage, Changeling, Wraith, and Mage is a modern game, so it's not D&D ish wizards, and it is. Um, I mean, hell, it's the basic mechanics that you'd be used to in Vampire, but it's a lot bigger in scope. So these are people that have awakened in a way that they can bend reality based on a dice pool. And instead of it being spells in the sense that we may see with 5e, you get um, higher scores in different spheres: matter, life, forces, mind, that kind of thing. And based on how high you are, that gives you the flexibility to do something within it. And if you wanted to do, like, I don't know, create a bug, you may need life 2 prime 1, that kind of thing. So you may need to mix and match the spheres to be able to do all the effects. But if you just wanted to throw a fireball, it might be forces 3. So you you have to build your spells kind of on the fly. You can have what they call rotes, which are more like spells that just kind of codify it and will give you a bonus on your cast. And um, then there's one more big aspect to the spell casting, and that's this: whether it's coincidental or not, because people don't believe in magic anymore, and reality has a way of slapping you back, and it's done through the mechanic of paradox. And so you can do something really eat, like you can have a soda or a gun that never seems to empty, or you may attribute something to special effects, and that might get over some people. But the more overt the spell is, the more likely the spell will fail, and or something bad can happen to you. And it can be as simple as milk sours in your presence to you getting shunted off to a pocket dimension, eh, the penalty box, that kind of thing. Or you can just take so much damage you die. And so there's a group called the Traditions. They are more or less uh, what we might think of shamans and modern day witches, and there are tech based ones: Sons of Ether, which are kind of steampunkish, or Virtual Adepts, which were uh, matrixy tech nerds that could rewrite the pattern. And they are opposed by the technocracy. So if you have the Camarilla and the Sabaton vampire, or the Wild and the Worm and Werewolf, here you've got the Traditions versus the technology or technocracy. And they are all science based. All of their spells are through technical devices, and they want reality to be Um, they are science to the extreme. They either want everything to be repeatable and keep out the bad things. So Men in Black are part of that, and they are ostensibly the bad guys, but you can also play them too.
Oh, awesome. All right, so it looks like we're
really
running out of
exciting.
time. Yeah, that
I
that
was like,
sounds
no, just keep
amazing.
going.
There's like so many people like just going, oh, I need to play that now.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so it looks like we're running out of time. So if we want to do like some real quick outros, tell us who you are, where we can find you, and what you got coming up. That would be great. And we will start with you, Mikaela.
Oh, well, hi, I'm Mikaela. You can find me on Twitter. Mikaela V Sims is where you can find me there. There's going to be a stream probably announced in the next day or so that I'm going to be playing in.
Awesome.
Can't say anything yet. And you can usually find me around anything Beadle and Grimms oriented right now on Twitter or on Twitch.
Awesome. I
Poon.
am Poonicorn on Twitter. I am playing in a GURPS game this weekend, and as Dr. Danielle Jackson, but in the Firefly universe. And what else? And I produce Ryan's Call of Cthulhu game. And that's about it. I'm winding down because I will be busy with school starting in October.
I'm Ryan at Belegmoradin on Twitch and Twitter. You can find me and Maddie. I am currently the Thread Raiders volunteer coordinator. So if you have any questions about volunteering for the Thread Raiders, any streams coming up, just let me know. Any concerns, questions, just let me know. I also run a Call of Cthulhu game over on So Chatty or some Maddie's channel, whatever it's called now, the Chatty Fam or whatever it's called now. You can find me over there running an amazing Call of Cthulhu. I got the greatest players, but I really couldn't have done it without my producer, Poonicorn. Love you. And Lucha for making those wonderful overlays for us. So I just wanted to give them a real quick shout out. I will be
It's a
playing
team
2 games
effort.
this. Yes. I will be playing 2 games this weekend. One of them, the Firefly GURPS one, where I'll be playing the pilot. I promise I will not get stabbed in the center.
We'll see.
We'll see. And then the other one, I'm playing Little Ducklings. I can't remember the name of it. Smitty's running it. I'll be playing an inanimate object. I'm not going to go into this too much because it's going to be a surprise. But thank you for joining us, and please stay tuned for the next stream, which Little Ducklings Go to War. That's what it's called.
And the next stream is.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know. I was hoping you had it in front of you.
Oh, no, I do. The next stream is a panel with
And
with Smitty.
Yep.
With Smitty and Brett. And I can't remember what they're talking about, but stay tuned. I will be here. So
probably something having to do with RPGs.
Yep. All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.